The sun in Veridian's reach didn't set. It just faded behind the ridge, leaving the valley in a gray, sterile half-light. I was 11 when we moved. My father called it a fresh start. In reality, it was a medical relocation. On our first day, a woman from the Homeowners Association had us sign the Veridian Health and Longevity Agreement, the VHLA. It was 40 pages of fine print about community contributions and wellness dividends. My dad didn't read it. He just signed so we could get the keys to a house with a heated pool. Then I saw the silo. It was a windowless 500-foot pillar of polished brass. It looks like a municipal utility. No windows, no vents, just a dull metallic hum that vibrated in the soles of my sneakers. Air filtration, my father said, checking his watch. State of the art. It's why the property taxes are so low. I met Mia and Sam on the third day. Mia was a girl with bitten fingernails and a habit of looking over her shoulder. Sam was a boy who lived in the biggest house on the block. His older brother Toby was away at boarding school. He got the education grant, Sam said, kicking a stone. My parents got a new Lexus the week he left. They say Toby is serving the community now. We were standing under an old oak tree. Tucked into a knot in the wood was a hand-blown glass orb fixed in place with industrial adhesive. It was clear, but as I moved, a milky swirl inside shifted. It looked like a cataract-stricken eye. "A glass eye," Mia whispered. "They're part of the neighborhood watch program. My mom says if the eye stays clear, our health insurance stays active. If it turns red, we lose the dividend." "It's just a sensor," I said, though my stomach felt tight. "Wait until midnight," Sam said. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the silo. "When the grid switches over, you'll feel it in your teeth, Leo. It's the sound of the town's heart beating, and it's always hungry." That night, the hum shifted. It became a low-frequency thrum that made the water in my bedside glass ripple. I looked out my window. A man in a white public works vest was standing by the street lamp. He was holding a clipboard and a small padded case. He walked to the oak tree, removed the glass eye with a specialized tool, and replaced it with a fresh one. He looked up at my window. He wasn't a monster. He was a man with a receding hairline and a wedding ring. He checked a box on his form, looked at me, and tapped his watch. The thrum in my teeth spiked, a sharp electric jolt that made my gums bleed. I looked at the VHLA pamphlet on my desk. At the very bottom, in the legal jargon I hadn't read, was a single plain sentence. "The resident agrees to provide unrefined cognitive resonance for the stabilization of the Veridian grid." I didn't know what it meant then. I just knew that the man with the clipboard was smiling at me as if I were a very promising investment. By 16, the thrum was just part of the background, like the sound of a refrigerator or a distant highway. We had normalized the maintenance checks. We had normalized the way our parents never got sick, never aged, and never asked why the education grants only went to kids who were quiet. Every year, we had to take the SGA, the Standardized Growth Assessment. It wasn't an IQ test. They measured our pupil dilation, our heart rate under stress, and the resonance of our voices. Then came the night of the Founders Gala. Sam's sister, Chloe, was 7. She was a bright, talkative kid who liked to draw. She'd scored high resonance on her SGA. At the gala, she was presented with a Civic Merit Award. I watched the mayor, a man named Sterling who looked like a high-end realtor, lean down and hand Chloe a small brass pin. He didn't whisper a curse. He just checked the ID tag on her lace dress and nodded to a man in a white vest. "She's a perfect match for the West Grid," Sterling said into the microphone. The next morning, Chloe's room was empty. There was no struggle, just a transition packet on the kitchen table and a check for $50,000. She's in the residency program, Sam's mother said, her voice flat and rhythmic. She was vacuuming the living room for the third time that morning. Her eyes were fixed on the glass eye on the mantel. She's going to be a hero, Sam. Like Toby. We're so lucky. She's 7, Mom, Sam screamed. She was drawing a sun this morning. She's not a hero. She's a part. His father didn't look up from his tablet. Sam, your asthma went away the day Toby left. Your mother's migraines are gone. We made a commitment to the reach. Don't be ungrateful. Sam met me behind the high school. He had Toby's old compass. He'd realized the compass wasn't magnetic. It was pointing toward the silo, but only when the thrum was at its peak. The compass isn't magnetic, Leo, Sam whispered. It's a resonance meter. Toby wasn't sent to school. He was sent to the substation. We biked to the ridge that evening. At the base of the silo, behind a fence with a standard caution, high voltage sign, was a list of names. They were etched in plain sans serif font, like a directory in an office building. I found Chloe's name. It wasn't at the top. It was at the bottom, under a heading that read, Batch 772, Primary Filtration, Status, Online. From inside the silo, a sound emerged. It wasn't a scream. It was a high-frequency whistle, the sound of air being forced through a very small, very tight opening. It was the sound Chloe made when she was trying to whistle. Sam collapsed against the fence. She's not even a person anymore, Leo. She's a valve. The dead zone was an industrial easement. That's how it was marked on the town maps. It was a 4-mile stretch of forest where the trees were stripped of their leaves and wrapped in gray, fire-retardant mesh. The ground was covered in wood chips and gravel. Every few hundred yards was a substation, a green metal box with an OSHA sticker and a warning about neural frequency interference. My dad takes the service truck out here every Tuesday, Sam whispered. He was holding Toby's compass, the needle spinning in frantic, erratic circles. He says he's checking the lines, but look at the meter. We found a man in a public works vest standing by substation 4. He wasn't a monster. He was Mr. Henderson, the librarian. He was wearing safety goggles and noise-canceling headphones. He was leaning against the substation, but his back was fused to the metal. A thick, braided copper cable emerged from the base of the box and disappeared into the skin of his lower back. He was holding a handheld scanner, methodically checking the resonance of the trees. "Mr. Henderson?" I called out. He turned his head. His eyes were clear, but his pupils were fixed, dilated to the edge of the iris. He didn't look like he was in pain. He looked like he was daydreaming. "The air is so clean," he said. His voice was a flat, recorded loop. "The debt is paid." He looked back at his scanner and checked a box on a digital form. He didn't chase us. He didn't even acknowledge we weren't supposed to be there. He was just a utility. "He's a relay," Mia said, her voice shaking. "He's not even suffering. They've bypassed his pain receptors. He's just a piece of hardware." We ran back to the town, the thrum vibrating in our bones. As we reached my driveway, my father was waiting. He was holding a folder of paperwork, the standardized growth assessment results from last week. "Leo, we need to talk about your resonance scores," he said. He sounded concerned, like a father talking about a bad grade in math. "You're in the 99th percentile. That's a very valuable position. We could get an upgrade to the gilded tier. We could finally move to the coast." "You're talking about me like I'm a battery," I said. My father sighed, a long, tired sound. "I'm talking about our future, Leo. Your mother's heart condition. The treatment is expensive. This is how we pay for it. It's just how the reach works." He handed me a pen and a consent for advanced integration form. "Just sign it, Leo, for your mother." I looked at the pen. It had the town's logo on it, a small, stylized brass tower. The thrum in my teeth was so loud I couldn't hear my own thoughts. The interior of the silo was a clinic. Mia and I had found a service entrance near the reservoir. We weren't crawling through gears. We were walking down a hallway with linoleum floors and fluorescent lights. The air smelled of bleach and ozone.
We found the reallocation ward on the 4th floor. It was a large room filled with comfortable-looking chairs. In each chair was a teenager, sedated and draped in a white sheet. They had thin brass tubes connected to the veins in their necks, which fed into a central processor. Sam was there. He wasn't in a chair. He was wearing a white coat, sitting at a computer terminal. He was scrolling through a spreadsheet of names. "Sam?" I whispered.
He didn't jump. He just looked up, his eyes bloodshot and weary. "I'm the clerk, Leo. Someone has to balance the load. If the resonance drops too low, the whole grid collapses. My mom, her heart would just stop." "Where's Mia?" I asked, my heart hammering against my ribs. Sam pointed to a chair in the corner. Mia was already sedated, the brass tube being prepped by an automated needle. "She was next on the draft," Sam said, his voice flat. "But I can swap her. I have administrative override." "Swap her for who?" I asked. Sam slid a tablet across the desk. It was the at-risk roster. It was a list of every kid in Veridian's reach under the age of 10. I saw names I recognized, neighbors, the kid who delivered the paper. "You have to choose, Leo," Sam said. He wasn't being cruel. He was being logical. To release Mia, the grid needs a replacement of equal resonance. Pick a name, and Mia goes home. Don't pick a name, and she stays in the chair. I looked at the tablet. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. "I can't do that," I said. "Then you're choosing Mia's death," Sam replied. "I already did it for Toby. I swapped him for Chloe so I could stay in school. It's just how you survive in the reach, Leo. You trade what you love for what you need." I looked at Mia. Her chest was rising and falling in a slow, medicated rhythm. I looked at the roster. I saw the name, Benny Miller, age 6. Benny was the boy who lived next door. He'd given me a drawing of a dinosaur last week. "Pick one, Leo," Sam whispered. "The quota is closing." I closed my eyes. My finger hovered over the screen. The thrum in the room was a physical weight, pressing me down, demanding a sacrifice. I tapped the screen. I heard the computer chime, a soft, pleasant, entry confirmed sound. Mia's chair hissed. The needle retracted. Her eyes fluttered open, confused and hollow. Sam didn't look at me. He just hit enter and began printing the next set of labels. "Go, Leo. The service elevator is at the end of the hall." As we left, I saw Benny Miller's name appear on the active processing screen. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a murderer who had just been given a promotion. We didn't look back at the silo. We didn't look back at the reach. Mia and I spent the night in a motel 2 counties away. We didn't talk about Benny Miller. We didn't talk about the tablet. We just sat on the edge of the bed and watched the static on the television until the sun came up. I went to the state police. I went to the Attorney General's office. I showed them the VHLA agreement. I showed them the SGA scores I'd managed to steal. They looked at the paperwork with a bored professional interest. "This is a standard municipal utility contract, Mr. Vance," the tapping his pen on the desk. "Veridian's reach has the highest health satisfaction rating in the country. The resonance you're talking about, it's just a proprietary energy metric. It's all perfectly legal. They're using children as batteries," I screamed. The investigator leaned forward. He didn't look like a villain. He looked like a man who was looking forward to his pension. "The world is built on trade-offs, Leo. You should know that. You're the one who signed the reallocation draft for Benny Miller, aren't you? It's right here in the log. Your digital signature." He slid a printout across the desk. There it was. My name, time-stamped, next to Benny's. "You're not a whistleblower, Leo. You're a participant. Go home." I live in the city now. I don't see Mia anymore. The last time I saw her, she was looking at a glass eye in a park, and she started to laugh, a high, thin sound that didn't stop until I walked away. I have a quiet life. I have a job and an office. My health is perfect. My back never aches. My vision is 20/20. Every month, a check arrives in the mail from the Veridian Trust.
It's my dividend, my share of the Reach's prosperity. I try not to think about where it comes from. I try not to think about the boy with the dinosaur drawing. But the horror isn't the silo. The horror isn't the brass tubes. The horror is the mail. Every Tuesday, like clockwork, a small white envelope arrives on my kitchen counter. It's the weekly resonance report. I opened it this morning. It's a single sheet of paper with a graph of my cortisol levels and a note about my contribution status. At the bottom, there's a small, ordinary image, a QR code for referral credits. Refer a friend, reduce your quota. I sat at my kitchen table and ate my cereal. The sun was shining. The neighbors were mowing my lawns. I looked at the QR code. Then I picked up my phone and started scrolling through my contacts, looking for someone I didn't like very much. I'm already thinking about who's next. The thrum in my teeth has finally stopped. Now it's just the sound of the clock ticking on the wall. Tick, tick, tick.